Ode to Aptera, the most efficient vehicle on the planet. Aptera cruising, wingless flight. I love Aptera, it feels so right. Glides down the highway, taking off from the sun. No more
The thrill of the all-wheel drive Aptera on a twisting, curving mountain road, and the rush of adrenaline with sub-4-second acceleration time, and the pleasure of charging your car from the sun, and on some models, the confidence of up to 1,000 miles of range. But we don't have an Aptera yet, and some specifications have changed to get Aptera to market quicker. Despite that, there are some things I would like to share with you today. First, though, a little bit about me. I'm a trained electrical engineer, so I understand how EVs work. I'm an EV owner with over 150,000 miles of experience, so I get range and charging. I have an MBA in finance, and I have been mentored by an investment banker. In my day job, I read and analyze financial statements every day. So what attracts me to the Aptera? The awesome styling? Yes. The sub-4-second 0 to 60 acceleration time on the all-wheel drive version? Yes. Is it the solar charging? Yes, though I live in the rainy Northwest. Or is it Aptera's amazing efficiency? For me, it's all about efficiency, because with efficiency, all those other things are possible. And for these reasons, I'm an investor in Aptera, an ambassador, and a reservation holder. Well, with the preliminaries done, today's video will be a special one. We have as a guest Frank Villarreal, Managing Director and Partner at U.S. Capital Global Partners. U.S. Capital is the investment banking firm behind Aptera's $60 million offering. An offering that I described in my last video as a mezzanine round. So, are we ready for the interview? Let's get right to it. Welcome, Frank. I looked at your professional profile and see that you have some experience with J.P. Morgan and Stifel. These are both firms that I know people in, though through public finance. To set the table in our conversation, I know investment banking is highly regulated and with oversight by the Securities and Exchange Commission and the FINRA. So there are likely some things that we can't talk about today with our viewers. But with that said, Frank, welcome. Maybe you could tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Rich. It's my pleasure to be with you today. My background is that my career has been in finance, and I have worked predominantly for bulge bracket investment banking firms, mainly in private banking and investment banking. So I've been with our firm for roughly about 8 years, and really have focused on a wide variety of different industries and verticals. I am based in San Francisco, so a lot of the deals that I have been involved with are focused on technology and healthcare. And we see that technology is playing a very important part in the development of and evolution in autos. So we're seeing quite a bit of interest in the auto industry right now.
Can you tell our audience what an investment banker does?
Sure. An investment banker's job is to raise capital for companies. This can be in the form of equity or debt. An investment banker also might be mandated to find a buyer for a company. either a public or private company.
I think that's called mergers and acquisitions. Is that right?
That's right, yes.
So raising funds and then mergers and acquisitions.
That's correct.
And can you explain to our viewers what a bulge bracket firm is? What does that mean?
Sure, there's different tiers of investment banks. So I think most notably the names that are affiliated with what is deemed to be bulge bracket might be a JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. And then there are more of the boutique and smaller and more maybe specialized oriented investment banks that might include companies such as William Blair, Rothschild, and many others.
Interesting. What kind of vetting does an investment banking firm do before they take on a client to raise capital for them?
Sure. So I think that one of the largest considerations is that the deal needs to be bankable. And what I mean by that is we are asked every day to take on clients. And really, we want to ensure that when we take on a mandate, that we do think that there are either investors or lenders that would be a good fit for any particular client or mandate. So we do have a requirement that really is aligned with how much money the company has raised, what stage the company is at, and what details really make it attractive for investors or lenders to consider the opportunity to participate in an offering by any of our clients.
That's very encouraging. And I say that in as much as presumably Aptera Motors has gone through that vetting process, and the whatever committee, if there is a committee, bob their heads up and down and says, this looks like a very doable transaction.
Yeah, that's right. I think that the level of interest that Aptera has received, including the amount of capital they've raised, the impressive pre-orders that they've received, all make this a very high-profile engagement, I think. I think that the market reaction and interest in this company, even before we've gone out to raise capital for the company, was something that was appealing for us.
Yeah, I understand they've raised over $100 million, a lot of it from the crowd. And as my understanding, it's the largest crowdfunding raise of all time. And it's, I think it's like $1.4 billion of pre-order sales or pre-orders that are in the books. And that's fairly compelling. At least it is to me. On investment banking, what kind of credentials or background is useful for someone who's interested in getting into investment banking?
Well, I think typically a bachelor's degree is really the kind of foundation, but oftentimes an MBA or CFA designation is not uncommon, sometimes both. Quite a few investment bankers, particularly in the more technical oriented industries such as healthcare, may have PhDs as well.
Wow. And I think the CFA is a chartered financial analyst, and I actually studied for that.
Yes, that's right. It's a rather difficult designation to secure that takes 3 tests. You take 1 test per year. So you need to pass all 3, not necessarily in succession. A lot of folks, in fact, I know only a handful of individuals who have passed it 1, 2, and 3 in succession. Usually, you might find somebody who doesn't pass 2 and then may take 4 or 5 years to get the designation. So it's a pretty rigorous examination.
My favorite, I look at Bloomberg all the time because in my day job, I help manage interest rates for the organization I work with. And my favorite Bloomberg reporter, Tom Keeney, wears a bow tie, is both an engineer and a CFA. And it's always, I just relish listening to Tom King. What kind of entities or individuals would want to invest in a growing company that might be pre-IPO?
So what's typical in the evolution of a capital raise for a company is that early on in a company's life cycle, there's usually a seed or friends and family round. In other words, the executive team might have colleagues who may know them by reputation, family that obviously has taken an interest in the endeavor by their family member and may just start that initial pool of investment just to get the company up and running. After that phase, then, and depending on the milestones, depending on the company's industry or vertical, you might get into maybe a Series A round, which typically is comprised of maybe a venture capital firm or an angel investor, someone who is familiar with the space, maybe has had an exit, and has taken an interest in a particular technology or project or platform that the company is involved in. Following that stage, there might be a Series B round where venture capital comes into the picture and they are interested in sometimes making a strategic investment where it aligns with their diversified portfolio of private companies. Or maybe it's a particular expertise that the general partners of said venture firm have and find an interest in the company. And those funds basically are really varied. It can be very specific to an industry. Sometimes it can be a larger venture fund that has a number of different industries that they invest in. So to answer your question, it can be funds, it can be high net worth individuals, or sometimes a sovereign wealth fund. Sometimes it might be a country that actually puts money through one of their investment arms into a particular technology if they believe that it will somehow oftentimes benefit their country and maybe the infrastructure that they're building out. We find that oftentimes in clean tech companies.
Great observation. Thank you. It made me think about Lucid Motors. I think Lucid Motors received some funding from this, I think the Saudi wealth fund, sovereign wealth fund. And it also made me think of your firm, I believe, has an office in Abu Dhabi. Or,
Yes, we have an office in Dubai. In fact, the CEO spends quite a bit of time there, certainly between Dubai and London. So we see Dubai as a growing region where there is an active interest in, as I indicated earlier, in building out their infrastructure. So we have a number of clients who are looking at things such as water filtration, hydrogen. There is a move, curiously, away from traditional oil, and hydrogen is a particular interest in these regions. So we see that as a growing trend, and it's noteworthy that, yes, to your point, Lucid has received an investment from one of these entities, and I think you'll continue to see that kind of partnership between government and private companies, depending on the industry and vertical.
yeah, it made me think of a video I saw recently, and it was about Aptera. And what was interesting in terms of the petroleum companies, if you will, the carbon fiber body that Aptera is manufactured from has a lot of petroleum into that mix, that carbon fiber mix. So you're actually sequestering fossil carbon into the body, which I would think would be very desirable for firms interested or firms in the oil industry and complex.
Yeah, there is. But one of the aspects that is interesting is that the manufacturing process for Aptera is such that they really don't require paint. In modular orientation, this is curiously one of the most expensive components of manufacturing an auto. It's actually the paint. It's highly regulated. And the fact that the company can actually manufacture and build their cars without the use of the traditional manner that cars are painted is one of the things that reduces the costs of the company, as well as enables it to really get to market in a manner that most other automakers may have a hurdle from an EPA regulatory standpoint.
I'm watching the clock. I know we have limited time today. And again, thank you, Frank. Thinking about U.S. capital, are there any companies that you can think of that have gone on, that you've raised investment banking funds for, that have gone on to an initial public offering on one of the...
Yes, and that's always the hope when we take on an engagement. I mean, our interests really are aligned in ensuring that our clients are successful. Having said this, our focus really is on private companies, and in most cases, we hope that it is the maybe last round that a company might require, either for growth or working capital. So our focus is really on that last private round before a company goes public.
And just to hit that question again, has U.S. capital raised funds for companies that have gone public?
The answer is yes.
Okay. Thank you. Just going to share a brief story with you. Yesterday, I was watching a Ferrari video. It just popped up on my YouTube channel. I guess I have an interest in cars. And one of my takeaways, it was a beautiful 1930s Ferrari with an aluminum body with a V6 engine. And this 80-year-old woman had purchased this car many years ago and cherishes it. And what she said struck me. She said, "This car is a moving piece of art." And in some ways, I think of Aptera in that way as well. It is beautiful, distinctive vehicle that perhaps someday could be looked at as iconic as the Volkswagen Beetle. But yet under that beauty is high technology. Instead of the V16 in this Ferrari, there's an efficient electric motor. Instead of the aluminum body in this Ferrari, there's advanced carbon fiber in the Aptera. And it just struck me watching that video. It was a beautiful Ferrari. I wish I remembered the model number. 1930 with a V16 aluminum body. And then it just, bing, this is, the Aptera is just like that. Advanced technology, beautiful. It's a moving piece of art. Yeah. So that's...
Yes, indeed. We're thrilled that this year we're going to be showcasing one of the Aptera vehicles at this year's Concours d'Elegance in Pebble Beach. It won't be there Sunday when the judging for Best in Show takes place. It'll be there on Saturday, where a lot of industry insiders and participants normally go there. But to your point, yes, some of these vehicles of the past really are deemed to be rolling art. And we certainly think that as well of the design of the Aptera vehicle.
Yeah, it really struck me. Advanced technology and beautiful. Well, again, I'm looking at the clock. I know there have been many things that perhaps we could not talk about today in recognizing the regulated industry that investment bankers work in. Once the Aptera Motors offering is closed, Frank, would you be willing to come back and have another conversation with our viewers?
Certainly, it would be my pleasure.
I want to thank you today, Frank from US Capital, for sharing some time with our viewers. And I wish you a fabulous day. And for everybody, charge on.
Wingless flight. I love Aptera. It feels so right. The future is now. Protect Mother Earth. Keep her healthy for what it's worth. What's your pleasure, Luna or Soul? Let's save the planet. We're on a roll. Lights down the highway, taking off from the sun. No more drilling, can't you see? We're done. Aptera, join the fight.